What's up? Podcast world, Chad Belding back at you. Another episode. I'm fired up about this one. This Life Ain't For Everybody podcast. Thank you all so much for the ratings, the reviews, the subscriptions, the support. It's humbling to see our TV shows and our podcast continue to grow, as well as some of our manufacturing brands. Thank you all again so much for supporting the partners and sponsors that continue to support us on a daily basis. Today's episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody is brought to you by our friends, again, America, Lynchburg, Tennessee, Jack Daniels. Enjoy it responsibly, but enjoy it, whether it's quarantine, hunting season, fishing season. Jack Daniels has always been there for us to create memories with and to help us through tough times and the good times. Jack Daniels, thank you all so much for believing in what we believe in, conservation and living off the land, being a provider. So please go out and support Jack Daniels, Lynchburg, Tennessee. But remember, please do it responsibly. And like I said, I'm fired up about today's episode. I got another bone collector with us. We're going to get to the bottom of where that name came from, because I can't seem to get it out of Waddell. I think he's messing with me. I think it came from a Julia Roberts, Denzel Washington movie, I think was in the Bone Collector. Today's guest is the one and only Nick Mundt. Nick, how are you, bro?
Good, man. How's it going?
Good. Am I on?
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, I'm so happy you're here, dude. It's our friendship's funny because it's like, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Nick, but I think we've always had like a mutual respect for each other, but at one time in our careers, it was you guys were focused on the Bone Collector, and then there was the phase of the hardcore, and then it became kind of like a competition deal, but it was never competitive with us. It was just always like, well, they're over there and we're over here. But we always seemed to like get along and like say hello and kind of give each other like that confirmation that, hey, everything's cool, we're buddies. But it seems like in the last 18 months, it's really been able to flourish and we've really been able to see a friendship blossom, I think, just because we have so much in common. Is that fair to say?
Yes, for sure. And, it's kind of funny you say that because, some of my best friends in this industry are guys that are across the lines with other sponsors, different color camo and all that kind of stuff. And that just doesn't bother me too much. I'm not, my friends are my friends, and the people that I like are no matter what color they're wearing, I'm going to hang out with them. And, I never had any animosity toward anything you guys are doing. And I've just always been just a normal old guy, lucky to be, doing what I'm doing, and support the brands that, support me. But at the same time, I got friends all over that wear different things and do different things. So all good, bro. All good.
Yeah. And that's what it always was. And I always got a little bit, not apprehensive or nervous. I just, you guys are Bone Collector, and you guys were really, you were doing big things. So like I would see it like at Kansas City Cabela's, or I'd see you'd come and represent hardcore once in a while. And I always wanted to be like, closer to you, or like talking to you and learning, because I got the utmost respect for what you guys have done at Bone Collector. And your stories, does it parallel Waddell's in the beginning stages in a way of in the right place at the right time, kind of with, and I want you to explain what I mean by that, but you were like scripted to be on Bone Collector or be a Realtree personality in the beginning, were you?
No, basically how it all got started for me was, I'm a barber by trade, and in my hometown, I just did a lot of hunting, and then I was approached by a guy that I was actually helping his wife do some haircuts and stuff at her little barbershop that she had. And he was an outfitter. And so I had my photo albums and stuff there with me. And he looked through them. He said, man, would you consider coming to work for us as a guide? We could use some good guides. And I said, heck yeah. Well, then he was working with Jeff Smith from 7J Outfitters, who lived next door to him. And so I got connected with Jeff, and he and I hit it off right away. Started guiding there at 7J Outfitters. We guided for whitetails, mule deer, elk, turkeys, and antelope. And a few years in, the guys from Realtree, I think Jeff had been in business just like a year or two before I started working for him. And so we really got the ball rolling, and man, things were going great. We really built a really good whitetail archery destination there. And so he was approached by David Blanton at a show one time, I think at the Dixie Deer Classic in North Carolina. And David said, hey, we'd really love to come and do a show with you guys. And so Jeff said, that'd be great. You know, we could use the promotion. And we always, you know, I always liked the guys from Realtree. I mean, they're, you know, to me at that time, you know, there's only a few outdoor shows and they were on TNN. And so, Bill and David and Michael were the guys that I watched, you know, and at that point, Michael was just getting a little bit of airtime, but you got to see him quite a bit because he was behind the scenes doing some interviews and stuff like that. So you could really tell by Michael's persona that he was a cool cat, you know? And so, that very first season, Bill and David came and hunted with us at 7J, and I was guiding David Blanton, and he and I just hit it off right off the bat. And it was that very first afternoon, I showed him a bunch of the footage, you know, that I had been taking over the years. Jeff and Deb at 7J Outfitters have 5 kids between them. And so I videoed all their first deer and turkey hunts. You know, I'd always have my video camera when I was scouting and filming my clients and all that kind of stuff. So I just had loads and loads of footage. And back at that time, nobody was filming stuff like they are now. You know, everybody's got a camera now, but back then, I mean, nobody was really doing this. And so I sat down with David that very first afternoon, in the middle of the day. You know, in September, you hunt till 9 in the morning. You got a break from 9 to 3 o'clock basically. And so in the middle of the day, you take a nap and then you sit around and yuck it up in camp. And so, I asked David if I could show him some of my footage. And so I showed him, a bunch of deer footage and some really great up close turkey hunts with the kids. And he just said, man, he said, you run a good camera. He said, would you consider, you know, coming to work for us at Realtree? And I was like, yeah, like dream come true. Right. So, I actually went to Jeff and Deb and said, hey, you know, I had been working for them probably 5 years at this point. And I was one of their head guides. I had a camp that I was running for them in Wyoming. I had 7 or 8 guides under me, and Jeff basically just let me run the show in that camp. And so I asked him, you know, hey, this is something I'd really love to do, you know, and I just didn't want to burn any bridges because those guys are like family to me. And so they said, no, you know, it's a great opportunity, but they asked me to work for them for 1 more year so they could find someone to replace me. And so I did that. And then I went to work for Realtree a year later. And my very first hunt that I actually filmed, I was guiding turkey hunters the next spring for 7J, and Michael came out. We got him his first Miriams, and I filmed it. And then, you know, it just kind of took off from there. And so for 9 years, I filmed for Realtree. And those first 4 or 5 years, I was with Bill Jordan exclusively. He and I would jump on his airplane and we'd fly to Montana or fly to Texas or fly here, fly there. And so I was Bill's right-hand man for, you know, those first, you know, bunch of years. And then we kind of started getting into Realtree road trips. And so Michael and our producer at the time, Steve Finch, had a good idea for this show. It was kind of the same time when all the MTV stuff was kind of coming out. Completely new look, new feel for the show with the way we do interviews now. And so Michael said, hey, we're going to be doing this new show, and you know, I'm going to have you as one of the camera guys, and you're going to be, you know, you're not going to get to hunt very much, but you know, you'll be filming usually whoever I have as a guest. So then when we're around camp, you know, we're going to film all the stuff that takes place around camp, all the fun, and play wiffle ball and pull pranks on each other. And that's going to be the meat and potatoes of the show, you know, our lifestyle, because people weren't really showing that. You know, they were showing the, you know, scoop up a plate of food and sit down and a few things here and there, but then mostly it was set up, the kill, the recovery, and, you know, stuff like that. So in a 20-minute episode, you were getting some meat and potatoes of the way camp life was. But what we really wanted to do was show the back scene and show just how much fun we were having in camp and what really goes on, you know, instead of just kind of the cutaways in the tree. Everybody knows what happens in the tree. And so we started that off, and man, it just, and let me say too, at that time, Michael was getting sent out by Realtree every weekend. He was doing shows, you know, he was doing appearances here and there and trade shows and retail appearances. And so, you know, his persona really started to grow. And, you know, everybody knows Waddell's personality. I mean, he's a super fun guy, full of baloney, can talk to anybody. And, you know, he's just meant to be where he was. You know, he's just an old redneck from Booger Bottom, Georgia, with a heating and air conditioning degree. You know, doesn't come from any money. His dad's a hardworking construction guy. And, he just kind of fell into this deal like I did. And so, we just went, all those years doing Realtree road trips. And as he and I, kind of got our legs under us, it just grew and grew. And then finally, after he was doing all these appearances and his persona had grown so much, he just came to me one day and said, "Hey, it's time we need to start our own brand. We're going to get a brand going, get a TV show going. And of course, we're going to get our blessings from Realtree to go out on our own, and hopefully they'll sponsor us and support us." And so, we went through all that kind of stuff, and then we started Bone Collector, and and already we're 13 years into that. So that's kind of the quick version of how everything kind of came together,
So it was 9 years of Realtree. The first 4 or 5, you were Bill Jordan's personal cameraman, right-hand man, pretty much. And then you said the last part of that 9-year tenure was the beginning of Road Trips.
Well, probably about 5 or 6 years into my Realtree relationship, that's when Road Trip started. I can't even remember what season that was, but I pretty much went to work for Realtree. I was always on a freelance basis, but I was busy with them the whole season. They kept me busy the whole season. And so I think my very first season filming for them full time was in about 98, I think.
1998.
Yep.
The way that I remember meeting you through TV was a scene, and I think it was Montana or Wyoming for some reason. And I want to say you're either at a lodge or a motel, and you got your butt pushed out and you're leaning over a banister up on an upper deck, I thought, looking out like over either a parking lot or a field. And it was like, I don't know if you had Billy Bob teeth in, I don't know what you're doing, but you were kind of doing the redneck. And I think you might've just been in some tidy whities. And do you remember this scene at all?
I think so. That was probably Colorado, I think is where that was.
Is it one of the first ones how did you transition from cameraman to camera personality before the Bone Collector days? Did Realtree, would Bill be like, "Hey, get a tag and we're going to film you now," kind of deal once he would secure?
No, not too much. I mostly did my stuff, behind the scenes with Michael. So, he would hunt, and then a guest of his would hunt, and then I would be the cameraman for the guest. But then when we got back to the house, Steve Finch would be filming all the behind the scenes stuff, that we, and so then I'd get in front of the camera that way, laughing and cutting up and doing funny stuff, and, just being ourselves, and that's kind of where it all started. And then on a couple episodes, Michael talked David Blanton and let me hunt. I think probably the first episode that I really got to hunt on was we went to New Mexico with a guy named Perry Hunsaker. And first we shot antelope. It was a 2-part series. First we shot antelope, and then we went over and elk hunted. And he and I both shot nice bulls. And that was kind of my first hunts on camera as far as being on the TV show. I had done a few hunts on my own that I videoed, and they put them on Monster Bucks and a couple other videos. But as far as getting on the camera, getting in front of the camera for the TV show, that was about the first of it. And I'd say that was probably in about, I don't know, probably 2002 or 2000, somewhere in there. I'm not really sure about the dates, but
so I assume that when this Miriam hunt goes down with Waddell coming to hunt with you, you had already probably been around Michael, being around Realtree and Bill, right? Had you already been friends with him at this point, or kind of?
No, that was my first one. That was the first trip. And
ever
the crazy
met him?
Part was, dude, no. But as soon as we met, I mean, you want to talk about freaking, we had a blast, and we still do to this day. That very first hunt though was crazy. He got there in the evening, and we met and messed around a little bit, and then at Jeff and Deb's house where they used to keep their hunters, they have a big nice lodge now, but back in the day it was just a little house in town in Sundance, and the basement was kind of made into a place for the hunters, and there was 2 or 3 bedrooms down there, and the one big bedroom had 5 or 6 single beds in it, no windows, cinder block, super dark and cold in there, great for sleeping and napping. And we woke up that first morning, and I sang some goofy song in the dark, and Waddell started laughing, and then it was just on, man. We had a freaking blast. even to this day, we get together and it's just, just a couple of idiots. We just have so much fun. And to be honest with you, and this is honest to God truth, and he'll agree with this. The only arguments that he and I ever get in is during scheduling for hunts, because I want to be everywhere and hunt everything. And he's like, you can't do it all. He just gets pissed at me because I want to be hunting all the time,
Yeah. So,
but that's it.
It's evident that y'all are like, just best friends. And then at the same time, T-Bone is coming up with kind of the behind the scenes Jeff Foxworthy, the T-Bone character through some of the Real Tree TV shows. And then he's a part of Road Trips. Is that correct?
Yeah. T-Bone had a part in Road Trips too. And, T-Bone's background is competitive archery. And so he had, when he got out of high school, he had a really special talent, and his family and friends all really pushed him to pursue his talent. And so he just wasn't sure about it. He didn't have a lot of confidence. So he moved out to California, and he actually became a Chippendales dancer. And, it was just one of those deals. He was doing a new move one night on stage, blew a knee out, and, then that's how he got into archery. So, but T-Bone.
Are you being serious?
No.
I don't know if I'm supposed to sit here and go, yeah, that sounds realistic. So the special talent coming out of high school was Patrick Swayze dancing?
Right. You don't ever see too many Chippendales dancers with T-Bone's physique. So, no, I'm kidding.
Let me ask you this about T-Bone. How thick is his skin? Because it seems like there's a lot of those kind of jokes thrown around by Michael on the show. Little jabs about the diet or the extra plate, stuff like that. And then when we were in Nashville, Waddell took another jab at him, and the friendship's awesome, right? But when you preface this by saying coming out of high school, he didn't have a lot of confidence. Does he now, to where he can take that, or is it only allowed by Nick and Waddell?
Well, yeah, you know how you have brothers, right?
Oh yeah.
So at times you hate your brother and you want to just kick the living crap out of him. But anybody touches your brother,
it's on. Yep.
That don't fly. And I got 3 brothers, and that's how we were. We always brawled, and we had our differences. But you lay a hand on my brother, you got problems. So T-Bone can give it out too. That's what T-Bone's known for. T-Bone's a great big guy, and that's what T-Bone is. And we all rib each other. Yeah, we ride T-Bone a little bit hard. But it's just part of our friendship, and we've laid off him a little bit, over the years. But one thing you won't ever hear me, I don't ever tell T-Bone, I don't ever say anything mean, you're a fat ass, or,
right.
Stuff like that. Whenever I say something, it's, eat Cheetos or drink a gallon of Dr. Pepper with it or whatever. I love the guy to death. And yeah, I probably do ride him a little bit hard. I probably do. But if T-Bone were to say to me, hey, I don't want you doing that anymore, I wouldn't do it.
That's where I'm going with it. I understand the joke and everything. I was just wondering, the competitiveness between you guys. It's just like there's never been a sign of ego with you guys, meaning that, Waddell had his personality coming up, and then you and T-Bone came in to the Real Tree family, and then there's this opportunity for this brotherhood of the bone collector, and you guys have obviously taken it to limits that even surprised you, according to T-Bone and Michael. When I've talked to them, is we thought we'd get 1 season under our belt, and we were prepared to go back to our day job, right? But obviously that didn't happen. But I've never kind of seen you guys are competitive, and I am going to get into the competition part of it, but the ego part of it has always been kept in check, to where you guys seem to know your roles. You guys, there's nobody that's bigger than the other person on the show, even though Michael's signature is on it. And you guys have always been that support system, but celebrities in your own way. And I know that that's a word that we shouldn't even use because it probably wears you out to hear that, but you are very recognized in the sport. You do sign a lot of autographs. You sign a lot of hats. You take a lot of pictures. And you're just this normal dude that was a turkey guide and cutting people's hair. And has it been a hard transition? Because I can imagine for somebody like a T-Bone that didn't have that confidence, like you said, coming out of high school, and maybe wasn't the most athletic guy and I'm just assuming, right? And you look like more of an athlete. You got the real good looking you're in shape and you're a good looking guy. I was just wondering if it ever did bug anybody, like a T-Bone but it seems like you guys have just gelled into this unit that T-Bone is hilarious. His personality, he could be a scriptwriter in Hollywood and comedies because he's so he's so witty and clever. I just have never really seen you or T-Bone be kind of a competitive force with each other to go after Waddell's job or go out on your own and launch your own career, because that's always a possibility in this too. And it's surprising and where I'm going, that's long-winded to get to this. And then I'll let you talk, Nick. I apologize.
No.
When you have as much success as you have had together, it's not very often that stays together without seeing somebody jump ship and go and think the grass is greener on the other side. And now you got Nick Mundt's big game show over here, and you got T-Bone Turner's archery big game show over here. It's never happened. Yeah. It's been going on 13 years of knowing your role and loving each other, even though I know there is some competitiveness there, which I wanted to get into that archery shoot that I saw you compete in Georgia a couple of years ago at the Edge launch, where you mopped up everybody on that 3D target shoot. And that's T-Bone's forte. That's his forte. And now all of a sudden here's Nick Mundt coming into the game and smoking him in Georgia, his home state, in a 3D tournament. So I'm like, damn, man, these guys really go after it. But anyway, you kind of see what I'm saying there. Like, you guys, there's no chance of that ever happening, right?
No, as far as T-Bone's concerned, T-Bone is one of the best guys you could ever meet and be around. I mean, he's up tempo, he's fun. He's not one of those guys that's going to, piss and moan around if something's not going right. He's always on as far as his attitude. I mean, great attitude. And when I was talking about coming out of high school with no confidence, that was a total joke. T-Bone's loaded with confidence. You won't find anybody more confident than T-Bone. He can get in front of a crowd. He can talk and talk and talk. He can introduce himself to anybody. I mean, T-Bone is a professional. And really, when it comes to traveling together and doing appearances and doing shows, I mean, we always have fun. And we really don't have any competition between the three of us. We're all happy if one of us kills, a good animal or anything in business. I mean, we're very supportive of each other, and it's pretty rare. And, as far as me, going to do something on my own, I just really like what we've got going here. We've got a great team. We've got a small team, that work at our office. And so everybody's real tight knit. We don't have this huge giant company. But when you work with guys like T-Bone and Michael that are just up tempo and, never anything negative, it makes it really easy. And I just feel like our personalities gel. Each one of us kind of has our own little thing that we do. And, it's just been nothing but good. I can't even think of anything bad.
It's very rare, though, Nick. It's very rare, in my opinion, to see. Now, I'm not saying that there's not other TV shows where there's personalities that are all individuals, and then they come together, and one guy might be filming in Iowa and a big buck up there, where one guy's down in South Texas or something, and then the footage all comes together, and you make an episode out of it, and you have some transitional interview scenes. But this is different because. And I'm being for real when I say this, because I'm in the game and I know how hard the game is, and I know how hard it is to stay creative and to stay innovative, and to 13 years of the same three dudes shooting the same animals with the same logo and the same name, and to not ever have arguments and to see that success. It is very, very rare. And it's very more rare because, in my opinion, you guys have all became kind of rock stars in the industry that have never let that get to you, to where the lines follow you, the lines build up at your appearances. You guys are famous in the industry. Now, whether or not that's a little presumptuous of saying the word famous, I know it's the truth because I see it with my own eyes, and I know that there's something different between the bone collector model and the three hosts and the three brothers that do it together. And then you take other shows. Some of them are husband and wife. Some of them are buddies like the bone collector. Some of them are individuals. I don't know of another show that has the success of this and the run of this with three all-stars that kept it together when all of them could disperse and have the ability to go get their own partners, their own sponsors, their own hunts lined up, their own camera crew working for them, and build something on their own. That to me is the rarest part, because the Bone Collector show and brand is not just your normal run-of-the-mill, everyday three guys putting footage in. It's a brand. It's a cohesiveness of brotherhood that you guys are rock stars in the industry. Now, it's no doubt Michael Waddell was a bona fide rock star when it came to hunting success. You saw it with your own eyes. It probably blew your mind at times, right?
Well, I mean, there's definitely some other icons in the industry, but when it comes to straight up fanfare, walking the walk and you see what you get. I mean, Michael Waddell is the man, and I will definitely, be more than happy to tell you I've been riding his coattails for 13 years. I mean, I give him all the props. Obviously it started with Realtree. Bill and David gave me an opportunity, and I'm always grateful for them. And I bleed Realtree. That's all there is to it. But when it comes to just being an icon of hunting and somebody who pushes the needle, and it's not a selfish thing for Michael. For him, it's wanting to get as many people involved in hunting and keep this tradition alive. And he is grounded when it comes to that, man. I mean, a lot of these people are me, look at me, look at me, look at me. He is definitely the guy that's out there saying, hey guys, let's get more people in the field. Let's sell hunting licenses. Who cares if it's big or small, or if you're fat or skinny or white or black or whatever, hunting's for everybody. It's a fun pastime, and a lot of people take it, too serious. I'm a serious hunter, but when it boils down to it, we gotta get as many people involved in this deal as we can. And so when it comes to Michael, I mean, that has been his focus from the beginning. A lot of people are doing their shows and doing the things they do in the industry to impress other people in the industry. Those aren't the people that we're after. We're after the consumer. We're after the people that support hunting, support our brand, and make hunting what it is for everybody. Now, a lot of people have been spoiled on some of the animals, including us. We're lucky. We get to go to great places and shoot great animals and hunt super farms. But there's a lot of guys that hunt public land and have never hunted anything but public land. And those people are important. They're buying guns, they're buying bows, they're buying boots, they're buying, banded clothing and whatever. But one of the things about Michael is he has always stayed grounded. He's been true to his roots, and he has never, ever wavered on that. And you will not find anybody that works harder for the consumer and normal people of the world that are hunters. So, that's just kind of how he's been. And thanks to him, I've been able to come along for this ride for all these years. And, he's been just nothing but generous, a great boss, first of all, a great friend, second of all, and then third of all, just somebody who really, really is for hunting as a whole and not just me.
Yeah, I think that you could come off, if you were Michael Waddell or Nick Mundt, and looking from the outside in, well, who couldn't kill an animal on that ranch? Who couldn't kill an animal on that farm? You guys are hunting the cream of the crop. And this is the way that I look at it. And I hope that people can understand that when you were a barber and you were a guide, you were a hunter doing the same thing and applying your set of skills. You have a specific skill set that has allowed you to accumulate the amount of bone, the amount of memories, the mounts, the taxidermy, the stories, the camp life. That's a skill set that Nick Mundt has. Now, looking from the outside in, it's easy to throw rocks at that, things that shine and go, well, if I was there, I could do that too. And that's not true. And that's the thing about the statement that you said of your guys' mission or your thought process is, hey, you guys are in the truck with us. You guys are part of this brotherhood. That has inspired the Foul Life to do what we do. If it wasn't for Bone Collector and what Waddell's ideologies were, there would be no Foul Life. I would not be in the TV game. I would not be driven to get that message out there. Now, I don't want to be Michael Waddell. I don't want to be Nick Mundt, but I do like the fact that you guys have had that voice. And my whole point in that, Nick, is that you guys could very easily go and film on public property if you had to. But one, there's a lot of things that you have to look at of filming on WMAs and filming on public property in different states. When you're on private property, it gives you the ability to develop a story and the sense of the hunt. And that's what you're giving that viewer. And you're giving them inspiration to go get in their truck and become a better bow shot, a better archer, a better stalker, a better scouter, a better cooker, a better barbecuer, a better husband, a better friend, somebody that knows how to cut up and have fun, doesn't have to curse and be all rowdy and drunk and all of that stuff all over the place. You guys have done it right. And that's the important part of the brotherhood to me, is that, yeah, you guys get to hunt the finest places in the world, including Indian reservations and Africa and Canada, and Waddell's down in Cabo while you guys are up doing your thing. And it's a great life. But the work ethic that went into achieving that is what people have to understand. If you want to get there and you get an opportunity presented to you like you did by you being a good person and cutting hair the right way and having good conversation and showing good animals, and then having that opportunity to show some video, the door's open. And when the door's open, you didn't like kick them in and go, Nick Mundt is here, and I'm here to kick ass and take names. You said, this is what I can do. This is my skill set. Then Blanton sees it, and Blanton goes to Bill Jordan. Bill Jordan goes, heck yes. And you did it right. So if everybody took it, that is the example of, hey, when the opportunity presents itself, don't worry about if Nick Mundt gets to hunt private property now, or that him and Michael Waddell get to travel to go do this. They're doing this sport and this lifestyle and this culture of the American hunter justice by showing this lifestyle can be so rewarding from just normal dudes that grew up in Booger Bottom, Georgia, another Georgian in T-Bone. And then you're just a guy from the Midwest, upper Midwest, that is a completely different character than somebody in the South. And you guys all gelled, and you're able to tell that story. That's the way that I look at it. And that, I think that that's a motivating factor that, my line of questioning can be different, is that I just kind of see where the motivation is. Like, are you sure, Nick Mundt, that you've never had the thought process of going to your wife and going, you know what, I am awesome at this? Like the Rodney Carrington, the Rodney Carrington skit when he starts to be a boxer, and he's like, I think I can whip somebody's ass. And his wife's like, you're going to get your ass whipped is what you're going to do, kind of attitude, right? But he's like, I can box. I'm good. I can hit this air. But anyway, has it ever happened, Nick? Have you ever woke up and said, you know what? I got all this notoriety now. I'm big now. I can go and do this on my own. Have you ever even thought one time that you could go do this on your own, or been tempted? Has there ever been temptation for Nick Mundt to leave Bone Collector?
Well, I've been offered to do a few things here and there, and it just never really made much sense. I mean, I don't know. I just think the team that we have, I'm a loyal guy. I've been with the same basically 3 companies for the last 25 years, 7J Outfitters. I'm still loyal to them, still work with them, still hunt there, Realtree and Bone Collector. And so I just have never, I've thought about it a few times, but if I did go do something on my own, I would still do Bone Collector, but I'm not, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm content with what we're doing here. I think we've made a great impact. I think our brand is strong, and, the guys that I work with are great. And, I get to live the kind of lifestyle that I want to live. I get to go hunting for a living, and I just really enjoy it. And, sometimes it gets discouraging when you post a picture and people say, oh, well, you should, if you're such a badass hunter, why don't you come to Pennsylvania and try to shoot a deer like that? Well, yeah, I probably can't go to Pennsylvania and shoot a 160 because there's not many of them running around there. But I always feel like if I do come up there to hunt, I'm going to have a good chance of shooting the biggest deer that's in the woods of wherever I'm hunting, whether he's a 3x3 or a 120, that doesn't matter to me. People always kind of give you crap about, you just hunt the best deer farms and the best places to hunt. Well, the truth of the matter is all the biggest deer, this deer that's on the wall back here is a 226-inch buck that I shot on public land in Arizona. My 2 biggest elk that I've ever killed came from public land. My biggest moose that I've ever shot, I shot on public land in Alaska this year. He's going to end up being, I think, right around like number 9 or 10 all time, Hope and Young. So it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with, I just love hunting. And when I was growing up, animals to me, they've just been my whole life. I love animals. I'm a animal behaviorist. I study their patterns and their habits. And when it comes to like equipment, T-Bone's the bow guy. He sets up all my equipment, sets up all my bows. And I'm just not a big technical archery equipment guy. I take T-Bone's advice. He sets me up. I can shoot well, but I'm more into the animals, And so when people say, only way you can kill a deer is if you hunt, some good farm in Iowa or Kansas or whatever. Yeah, we do hunt good places, but it took me 20 some years to get to this point where I can hunt some of those places. And I just feel like I can go to any place. And if there's, I feel like I can study the lay of the land and get it done there. It's not just, everything's not just in a can and tie it up to a tree for you. That kind of stuff kind of hurts sometimes when you hear that, because I feel like I am a pretty good hunter and I've honed my skills over the years.
But you're a better guy. And I hope that people would hear a conversation like this and hear the words come out of somebody like a celebrity hunter, quote unquote, Nick Mundt, that it does hurt sometimes, because you're just a dude that has fun in camp, and you respect this, you respect the resource, you understand the behaviors and the natural instincts of the wild animal. You've honed your skills. You're no better than anybody else, and you've never said that. So to have the success and to post it is more of a, guys, we're in this together. We can do this. If
Absolutely.
You apply your skill set, you can do this. Because when I watch Phil Robertson and the Duck Commanders hunt back on Duck Commander 1 DVD, I never thought that I would be in a duck blind with Phil Robertson and get to hunt ducks with Phil Robertson and Willie and Jason, those guys. And then when I did, I was like, man, they're just nice guys that love to duck hunt. There's nothing special about them. There's not doing. And that's the thing, is that if somebody came to camp and sat around a fire with you and Waddell and T-Bone, and you had the guitar and Waddell had a tambourine and T-Bone had his Billy Bob teeth in, it would be the most fun. Like you're just with your buddies cutting up. And that's what they need to take out of that is, yes, the success is there, but there's also a lot of failures, which that you always turn into success. And that's the story I wish people would take before they hit that send button to degrade Nick Mundt. Think about what you're doing. You're hurting the man's desire. Not that they're going to do this to you personal, but you're potentially hurting the man's desire to keep putting himself out there to promote this lifestyle that is so important to be promoted in the right light. And that's what Nick Mundt and the Bone Collector team do. So before you hit that send button on a keyboard muscle comment that nobody cares that Nick Mundt can't kill a big deer in Pennsylvania, which I would put my money on that you could probably walk there from where you're at right now and have one down by tomorrow evening at sunset. And that's just, take more out of it than just, oh, Nick killed another Nick's a freaking badass hunter. That's why he kills big stuff. There's the difference in that. And yes, he has developed a lifestyle that he is allotted to do that. So instead of hitting that send button, let's work a little bit harder and maybe get some advice from Nick to where maybe you can get there someday, because there's not a better lifestyle out there than what Nick's living if you love to hunt. So don't hate on it, just enjoy it.
That's right. And that's kind of, you get hate from people that don't get to go hunting in other places. Well, I just think everybody, if you come from a place that, doesn't have a lot of big deer and you want to try to shoot a big whitetail, save up for 2-3 years and go and experience something different. I mean, anybody can do it. Some of the guys that you see that are coming on posting, oh yeah, if I hunted here or there, I'd do this or that too. Well, everybody can do it. It's just where you put your priorities. I see this guy, he's driving a new $70,000 pickup, but yet he doesn't want to spend the money to go to Kansas to try to shoot a big whitetail, because when you go there, if you've grown up in the Southeast or Northeast where, maybe the biggest buck you're ever going to kill or have ever seen in your life is a 130, 135 buck. You see 3 of those a day in Kansas. They might not be right underneath your tree, but put yourself in the position to go and get that done. And, I just love hunting so much. I started doing this because I love to hunt. It doesn't have anything to do with being famous or signing a hat or, I just love hunting, man. I love it. And
what's the feeling that goes through your body, Nick Mundt, when you do see that though? What does it make you feel like? And I know that the easy answer is, oh, it's no big deal. I'm just a dude. I'm just a barber that has the ability. I have a voice. I was given a platform, and now it's not even true, because a lot of people have had that platform, and not everybody turns it into what you guys have. So, what's the first thought that goes to your head if I ask you, how does it feel to see all those people in line that want their picture with you? They want you to sign their antlers, their sheds. I've seen people bring in everything from a grunt call to a cow call to a set of sheds to their big buck, and have you guys sign it and take a picture with. That is crazy. You guys are freaking deer hunters, man. You guys are not brain surgeons. You're not fighter pilots. You're not Axl Rose. You're not famous. And then you go and see you, and you're like, dude, this is the real deal. This is different. This is a different thing. They're being sought out to get their autograph because they're doing things right. How does it make you feel? And don't tell me the normal everyday answer, well, it's not that big deal, because it's a big deal, Nick.
Well, I feel lucky as heck. And to be honest with you, I've been to different, meet and greets with so-called, famous people, and they'll stand in line for an hour and a half. And when that hour and a half is done, they'll leave 150, 200 people standing there and walk out. And, we just seriously feel super blessed to get to do this. And so if you've ever seen us at any of those shows, we stand there till the last single person comes through there, because we do feel blessed to do this. And, it's so lucky. How can you turn people down that want to come and say hi and talk about what you love hunting, And, for me, it's just a super humbling experience, and just feel so blessed to get to do it. It's not everybody gets this. There's guys that have television shows and they're on TV, but they don't have,
that's my point.
Brand. And
that's my point.
And
to
so
see it happening,
it's a lucky thing.
It blows my mind, dude. Like, I look at it and I'm like, those guys are so down to earth. And look at what's the coolest part about it, Mundt, is that here we are 13, 14 years into Bone Collector. You're in your 40s. Michael Waddell's in his 40s. T-Bone's 50 now. And when you go to these shows, there's 6-year-olds waiting to get their picture with you. 10-year-old girls. 10-year-old girls with their first fork and horn, their first 4-point. I think a Southerner would call it a 4-point, whatever. Out here west, it's a fork and horn. It's Southerners call their stuff different. What is a 2-point called? Is that a 4-point in whitetail world?
Yeah, that's a 4-point. I grew up in western South Dakota, and where I'm from is basically, it's the West. We got bighorn sheep, mountain goats, elk, mule deer, whitetail.
So that's a fork and horn?
When I grew up, it was a 2x2,
2x2.
That's what I called it. Yeah,
2x2.
Or fork horns.
So you got these new generations, and this has happened every year where these new generations keep getting in the Bone Collector line. I've seen it firsthand. Now, Shockey, great voice, has people interested in getting his autograph all the time. I understand it.
Absolutely.
But the energy at this Bone Collector booth, and I've watched it exclusively the last, I'd say since 2009, 2010 at NWTF, and watched the booth grow, watch the appearances grow. Waddell's name comes over. Waddell and Nick are signing here. Go meet them. It just floors me that it truly is all day, every day of these shows of nonstop celebrity. It doesn't happen to most hunters. There are a select few in our industry that get to experience this in a way to where it's consistent, being sought out, and it's never got to you guys. And it's the coolest thing that you guys are able to take it, shoulder it with the responsibility, and do it ethically, right? You guys are never in trouble, and you get to give back and have this voice of, this is what we get to do. We're going to stand here until the end of the day and tell our hunting stories, and listen, more importantly, listen to your hunting stories. And there's a lot of them, and sometimes you're just like, oh man, if I hear about another deer or something, but you guys do it.
We're just like anybody else, man. We're just, we love hunting, we love people, and the platform that we've been given it's just so big, it's just a huge deal. And like I said, man, I just feel humbled to get to do this, and I'm thankful to Michael for, seeing something in me that he wanted to bring on board and help promote hunting. And that's, that's in the end, that's what it's all about for us. And, hopefully that never changes, and hopefully we can continue on this platform. And, the shame about it to me is that a lot of people don't get to see our actual show because they don't get the outdoor channel. And, you know, it's just been so much fun. Every one of our shows is fun, and we're laughing and having a good time. And it's the real thing, you know, it's non-scripted. And I don't know, man, it's just been so fun. It's gone by so fast, like that. Like 13 years have gone by so fast. It's just been incredible.
It's almost scary, isn't it? When you look at it, like, because we started the Foul Life and Bandit in 2008, and here we are 12 years later, and I'm like literally like a kid in a candy store, hoping that this virus surpasses. And I've had to cancel some turkey hunts, but getting ready for this fall, it's like we just made these memories. They're getting ready to go to air third and fourth quarter. And I don't even get the chance to sit down and enjoy those. And I'm already on to the next. And it's time to pump the brakes and go, look at this library. Look at this portfolio that we've been able to build to show the American waterfowler. And my goal always was, I don't have, 13 to 14 million deer hunters that could be potential fans.
Right.
Not everybody duck hunts. 2.5 million people at the most buy a duck stamp and go duck hunting for certain reasons, whether it's too expensive, whether the laws and how, all of the different things like being able to recognize or make sure that you could, tell the species of a duck and everything that goes into it. I don't know why it's never caught on like deer hunting, but it hasn't. And there's a lot that goes into that. And that's a totally other rabbit hole to go down. But my goal, Nick Mundt, was, what if we do show the culture that we get to live? What if we do show the processing and the butchering and the music and maybe it's a celebrity around campfire, or it's a 3-star admiral, or it's a guy that was in special forces, or it was this guy that works at Ronald McDonald House and loves to hunt and gives back through that. So I really was driven to try to use the Foul Life and Banded to show these stories. And that's what you guys have been able to do to bring notoriety to different, whether it's, this episode that you guys just aired with the tornado, right? I mean, I was just like, man, that right there, that entire episode and those interviews and those headstones and that guy's turkey harvest, that should have been freaking national news all day long of the human spirit and the way that hunting is therapeutic to the soul. And that is what the Foul Life, what I wanted it to become, was like, man, thank you for what you do for us. Here's what we can do back for you. I never went in the military. I've never served our country. I've never gone overseas. And I look at them and go, do you ever judge people that don't? And they're like, no, look at what you're giving back to us now. You're a warrior for doing this. And that's their gratitude. And we could never have enough gratitude for them. And what that guy went through with that tornado, I was like, man, I want to be able to tell stories like that. That was just so touching, right? That should be national news all day long of what you guys did with that guy. And just a really small percentage of the population will know that.
Yeah. Like I said, the platform is amazing. And what we do with it is, like I said, we try to sell licenses and get as many people involved as possible and let people know that, hey, it's here for you too. I mean, there's some hunts that people think that are out of their reach, but they're really not. I mean, with a little savings and a little perseverance and some research, I mean, there's a lot of great things that people can do. But like I said before, for us, it's just spreading the good word about hunting and getting as many people involved and doing what we can to promote the sport. Because when it comes to Second Amendment rights, being able to have guns and being able to pursue these animals, it's a big deal, and there are no better conservationists than hunters. All these other PETA and all these people can say what they want, but nobody puts their money where their mouth is like hunters do. They're not out buying habitat. They're not, moving species around. They're not saving the sheep. They're not saving the moose. They're not saving caribou. They're not banding and moving waterfowl and all that kind of stuff. Hunters we're where it's at, man. We're the ones that are protecting these species. In fact, look at all the species that we're hunting. There's as many now as they've ever been. If hunters were, protecting and taking care of the California condor, they'd probably be all over the place. You know what I mean?
Guaranteed they would be. That'd be crazy.
We're the greatest conservation group in the world, and nobody can argue that. They might want to, but people say, how is it good to shoot an animal to conserve it? Look at the species we're hunting. It tells the perfect tale. We're killing the biggest animals we've ever killed. World records are being broken every year. I mean, take a look at a guy like Doyle Moss. The guy has multiple world records. He's got multiple state records. He keeps breaking them every year. And, you know, he lives in nature, promotes the heck out of hunting, and nobody can argue with what hunters do for a living. You know, I mean, it's just,
and he supports FNAWS. He supports which is the
Absolutely.
North American Wild Sheep Foundation. He supports RMEF, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. He supports Mule Deer Foundation. He supports all of these different conservation agencies and raises money through donating hunts, donating partial hunts, donating guide services, outfitting services, the animals that he consistently harvests in Utah and Nevada. Just an amazing career. My cousin Thomas Baker, he's in outfitting, and the Ryan Hatches and all of the guys that are out here. I've grown up watching, you know, the just the sweat and the sweat equity that's been put into habitat and guzzlers, and the amount of desert sheep that are in the state of Nevada now because of Nevada Bighorns Unlimited, which I'm sure you've heard of, and the amount of, you know, just, I guess it's a lot of passion when you go and you sit around these guys and they're like, well, yeah, we took a sheep out of the herd last year. We killed a 167 ram up in the cellulites, but here's what we did. Here's what people don't know. Here's how many guzzlers went in. Here's how many chucker, and here's how many different forms of wildlife, from rats to mice to antelope to mule deer to coyotes to cougars to foxes to bobcats. You keep naming it, of all of these species that generate benefit off of the heart of a hunter that goes up on a Saturday after he just worked a 60-hour week in the construction field. Now he's traveling up these dirt roads and proud to do it with a guzzler, and he implements the guzzler and builds it up there. And the next thing you know, they're getting trail camera pictures of sheep benefiting off of this, of not being, you know, dehydrated and dying from dehydration because they have water sources now. So I look at it like, yeah, we take some out of the ecosystem, but if we didn't, you understand what would happen if we didn't take that one out of the ecosystem every time or control the herd. There's just that, you know, it's amazing to know that what a guy like Doyle Moss has done for conservation and hunting, and he gets a bad rap. He gets a bad rap sometimes because he's always killing big stuff. Well, that's because he's good at what he does.
Jealousy.
It's jealousy. It's because he's freaking good at what he does.
You're dang right. He's one of the best ever to walk the planet. I mean, the guy's a stud. But you take guys like Chad Woodruff from Mossback, Arizona, and Tory Brock. You know, these two guys are mule deer freaks. They're up there in the middle of damn nowhere, up there on the strip, and they're working with the game wardens and the biologists. They're up there all summer long and pounding heat. And they're doing everything they can for the deer up there. They're, like you said, they're putting in new water sources. They're working hard. They're putting out mineral. They're doing this. They're doing that. I mean, they've made that place basically help make it what it is, as far as, you know, helping animals live in tough times. And, you know, you just don't hear about that from animal activist groups. You know, they're just, you just don't, there's no credit. All they can think about is the death of an animal, and it's just not right. You know?
And hopefully other hunters that are the guys that we started this conversation a few minutes ago about, you know, the public land guys, the guys that are going and getting their applications and looking so forward to that and putting in for tags and drawing a group tag or a party tag with your dad and your brothers or your friends, and you're going out. I hope that they look at somebody like a Doyle Moss, how much he's benefiting the herds that they're getting to hunt, because there's a lot of big animals that are being harvested and a lot of new animals that are being put back in, you know, that bloodline and that species is being more and more secured by the efforts of people like Doyle Moss and his guides that are up doing this throughout the year. So Utah and Nevada public land hunters and just regular 9-to-5 Joe Bobs that love to hunt, that all of us are in reality, is they're benefiting off of people's sweat equity and their elbow grease and their intelligence and their ability to go up and do that, or their desire to, because not everybody wants to go up on a 90-degree August day and work on a guzzler. All they see is the big picture of being up there in November and being able to have a chance to kill a 220 mule deer in the rut. Well, that doesn't happen without all of this going on. There's a reason it keeps evolved. So I think that before you hit that send button on these hate mails or these judgment emails or the ability to get to Nick Mundt or Michael Waddell or Doyle Moss on social media, before you send educate yourself on what they really do or where they come from. Because I don't ever want to look at somebody or be judged of like, oh, he just bought. I mean, I've heard it all. I bought my way into the industry. My dad died and left me this huge inheritance. And I want to look at him and go, My dad was a union plumber. He made $75,000 a year if he wasn't laid off. It'd be like 50 grand if the snow came and the job shut down. Like inheritance. Are you serious? Inherited what? I don't even know what an inheritance means. So
Me either.
you hear that stuff and it's like, no, I love to work. My dad always said you're put on this earth to work. I love to work. And so I just wish that people would take the time to learn a story. Like you bring up Doyle, you live out here and you hear the stuff that's said about him. And I'm like, dude, do you ever just stop to pump the brakes to understand how good he is at what he does? You would die to be in his shoes, man. Just to see the animals he's seen on a normal Saturday through his glass. Most big game hunters would die just to see that. So stop it.
Or Chad, they would look over the same country and never see it laying there in the bushes.
100%.
I mean, 100%. that's to me, that's, 80-90% of it is being able to sit in one spot for hours and hours and hours, throw your glass on the hillside, and all you see is a little piece of horn or a tiny bit of the ear sticking out or a throat patch or the white on the face of a buck sticking through the cedars. I mean, there's a lot more to it. Some people just don't have it. Some people do not have it.
I just did
You can throw them into, get them the best tag, put them in the best area, and they still aren't going to get it done. Where you got guys that are very proficient at what they do, and people hate them for it, I guess.
Oh man, you're baiting. Oh man, you had him tied to a fence. Oh man, you got that out of a high fence. I'm like, dude, now look, my cousin's a go-getter and he's been in it and he's had some problems. But if you ever had to, are you drinking coffee out of a Pendleton whiskey cup?
Mm-hmm.
I love it, dude.
It's half and half.
So I want to remind everybody why Nick drinks his coffee that you're seeing on the video, that this episode is still brought to you by Jack Daniels.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just messing with you. It don't matter.
I do it.
It's, I had a talk with our optics partners, Vortex. I know that you guys are with another one, which is fine. Everybody, they're each their own and everybody's happy. But we talked last week. I'm doing this Essentials of Duck Hunting podcast series on our other podcast, The Foul Life. And I said, I was the kid with ADD that dad would say, get in the glass. And I would go real quick. Nope, nothing here, Pops. And then my dad would say, sit your butt down and watch. And then he would show me the importance of staying in the glass and what that means to a big game hunter, of that ear twitch, or that mule deer staying so still that all of a sudden he might have just turned a little bit and that sun hits a horn or a white patch on him or something, where a good mule deer hunter lives with them, knows what they're doing, knows their escape routes, their instincts, like you do on reading all these animals how they naturally live their lives. My dad and my cousin Thomas, who I keep talking about, it's amazing what they do with just a pair of binoculars. And if you can do that, that's a big win, because not everybody's. I can't do that. I can look at one hillside for 5 minutes and be over it, where they're finding big bucks consistently through there. And then the ability to go out like a Todd Jasic. I don't know if you've ever heard that name in our state, which is like one of my.
I don't think so.
He's a stud, but anyway, he killed his first Grand Slam of North American wild sheep at 12 years old, and he's killed 4 Grand Slams. Anyway, he comes from money. There's no doubt about that. But he's a great dude and a great voice for hunting, and his ability to go out. Have you ever heard the name Tony Grimmett for antelope?
I don't think so. Is he an outfitter?
I think he was at one time, but he has a video out there on how to field score. Where I'm going with this, because I'm long-winded, is how to field judge antelope. Because everybody thinks that it's an 80-inch head when that's a 69. Why? Well, you got to do this, and you got to be able to make sure that you can get close enough with your optics to be able to figure out, all right, if he's this long and I divide that by 4, his circumference around the base, his prong's going to be this, his third measurement's going to be this, his tips are going to be this, does he curl in, what's his width? And when you start being able to do that on the fly, now those guys that go out and pull that 180 grain 270 bullet on the first buck they see, and then they walk up and ground shrinkage happens, and you're like, well, that ain't no Boone and Crockett 82-inch, 84-inch head. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason why Todd Jasic can consistently do it. It's not because he has the ability. Yes, he has the ability to go scouting more than you because of his lifestyle. But when he's scouting, he's applying his skill set of saying, That's not a 77-inch buck. That's a 71. That's not the guy had the state record at 94 and 7/8 or 95 and 7/8 for many years. He's killed 3 or 4 heads in the 90s, right? The guy knows how to kill big antelope. I go antelope hunting in the same country, the same exact draws, the same exact tags. I know the mountain ranges, not as good as Todd, but pretty dang good with my brothers growing up here. Don't even see him. Don't even see those big bucks. He's just good at it.
Yeah.
So
time spent.
But you know what the common denominator is? You know what the common denominator is, Mundt? Is that he gets so many people saying the worst things about him and his family. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, have you ever sat down with Todd Jasic? That dude would do anything for you, man. He would take the shirt off of his back in a snowstorm if he saw you stuck out there. So stop the hate, man. Stop the violence against good hunters. Stop it. You know, it's like quit hating on people because they're good at what they do. Because there is a difference. Funny. And that's the whole thing I started this with, is that the whole success of Bone Collector is different, man. What you guys are experiencing in life is so much different than what most TV show hosts experience. And whether they want to admit it or not, because I'm right in the thick of it and I've never seen anything like it. So it's a cool thing, and it's awesome. My line of questioning was to see how you have shouldered it. You don't get jealous. You don't have an ego. You've stayed humble. You've stayed down to earth. You've stayed rooted. And that's why the success is there, that you've never got bigger than your britches, and you've stayed the course. And that's a success story, man.
Yeah, like I said, man, I just feel lucky to get to do it. And so I don't think you'll ever see me going there. That's just not the way I am. And I'm not really wired like that. And it does hurt when people, give you a bad rap, and 99% of it's good. 99% of people are very supportive and tell you congratulations. And, I would never go on somebody else's page and post something negative. Like, I would never do that.
It's crazy.
And I just don't understand that. And, a lot of times I want to comment back and I just don't, because it's just not going to go anywhere, so I just leave it. Usually the people that are, making comments on the post or whatever, they take care of it, and people will comment back at the person making the negative comment. But I just try to keep it positive, share my lifestyle with people. And I know I'm lucky. I know I am. I feel that every day. And so when I post a picture of an animal that I shot, it's not because I'm bragging, it's because I just want to share it with people. And it was a great experience for me, and what I live to do. I literally live for this stuff. It's not just something I'm doing just so I can get on TV. I mean, I live for hunting. I love it.
Well, the way that I look at it is, if a big thing that we talk about in our sport, in our lifestyle, which is, I don't know of a cooler way to live. I really don't. And I always talk about people that golf, and I always look at them and go, I don't understand why you golf. And I really do know why they do, because it's great. And I don't do it because I suck. But I still think that duck camp and hunting camp is the best place to really get to know somebody, and to jive with somebody, and to cut your teeth with somebody, and to form a friendship and a brotherhood. I truly feel that in my heart, that there's not a cooler way to live in the world. Now, this is being judgmental or opinionated, which I've been accused of being opinionated, but I'm always just stating what my opinion is. I don't tell people how to think. I'm simply saying that to hone your skill sets like Nick Mundt has, and to be able to get that close to that big of a deer, that deer and that moose, mind you, people, that deer and that moose and that elk are that big for what reason? They didn't come out of the womb like that. They have survived many a seasons to grow that amount of inches of bone on their head. So to get in there on a deer or a moose or a caribou or whatever species you're hunting, elk, sheep, whatever it is, to trick those savvy animals that have been in the wild for that long, that's a skill set. Then to be able to process it, butcher it, show your passion for the art of it and the taxidermy, and preserving those memories and those stories, eating that wild game and serving that bounty, which I know that you love wild gaming. There's not a cooler way to live. You're living off the land. Yeah. You're living off the land, man. There's nothing cooler. Yep. And you're giving it to your kids. You're every day you walk into your wife, you talk about out kicking your punt coverage. You're a good looking dude, man, but that's a whole other podcast too, of how you landed her, because she's like the prettiest girl in America. Congratulations. And she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, man,
that night on the bus in Nashville a couple months ago was special, wasn't it? With Brent Cobb.
That was a blast. That whole event you put on was really cool, man.
We're going to do it together this year. I put the bug in Waddell's ear that I want to do Bone Collector Foul Life one for next year. I think it'd be killer. I think it'd be
man,
awesome.
that would be fun.
But anyway,
yeah,
those skill sets are there. And what a cool way to live life. So my whole thing is that 15 years ago, Nick Mundt didn't have the ability to put that picture out there and say, hey, look at what I do. He's never once said, rah, look what I do. He's saying this, and this is where I was going with this again, is that in this industry, the most important thing that we can do is try to develop a mentorship program to help people get started, because you and I might take it for granted that because we grew up in it. We came out of the womb and been in the mountains, right? Now you have the ability to mentor somebody, or at least give them the thought like, wow, I want to live that life. I want to live off the land. I want to learn how to be a better archer. I want to learn how to be a better stalker. I want to go live with the animals and catch fish and cook them on the creek bed and figure out how to do a shore lunch. Well, Nick Mundt knows how to do all that. You know why he knows how to do all that? Because he's taken the time and the passion to apply that and to learn it. He didn't just come and be able to get this good because he had a God-given talent. Maybe some of it was, but he worked hard. So now you have the voice of being able to say, look, if you need some advice, instead of shredding me for the amount of inches this horn is on the top of this deer's head, just ask me and I'll be more than happy to help mentor you and now you can't do it with everybody, but you can at least give messages out there to help, right?
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, I think there's two important things that we all need to do as people that are experienced hunters. We need to, number one, try to get somebody new involved every year in the outdoors. I mean, we need to get a new kid that's never been hunting before, maybe a kid that comes from a single family home, or maybe it's even a lady that's never been hunting before but wants to hunt. We need to involve them as much as we possibly can. And number two is become a member of some kind of conservation organization, whatever that is, whether it's Ducks Unlimited, Mule Deer Foundation, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Safari Club, blah, 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 on and on and on. These conservation organizations are doing a number of different things, including sending money to Washington so that lobbyists can be working in Washington for us, fighting for our rights. We got a lot of high-powered young attorneys that are there right now. They're bumping elbows with the senators and congressmen. They know the issues. They're passing on the issues to the people that don't know the issues, because let's face it, a lot of our congressmen and senators don't know what the people are thinking as far as in Wyoming and Utah and Nevada, as far as what's going on public land, stuff like that. So these conservation organizations are funding the lobbyists, the attorneys that are working for us and for our Second Amendment rights. So two of those things: get somebody new involved in hunting and become a member of some kind of conservation organization. Freaking huge. And it is our job. One of the toughest things there is to do is to come into an activity like hunting or shooting a bow. It's a very intimidating thing to get into if you've never done it before. To pick up a gun and shoot it for the first time, or to go out turkey hunting and have never called a turkey, to buy a new bow, get the right rest, get the right setup, get everything right. Just to have the confidence to go into an archery shop and ask somebody to help you. That's tough for a man to pick up a bow and go into an archery shop and say, hey, I don't know squat about archery. Can you help me get started? Those are tough things. And so there's an intimidation factor when it comes into trying something new in the hunting, in all aspects of hunting, whether it's, I don't know hardly anything about waterfowl hunting. I've done a ton of it. I feel like I could go out and set up decoys on the pond. My mother-in-law's got a big dam right here on the property, and there's geese in it every day. Pretty sure I could go set up some decoys and get them killed because I just know enough about hunting. But if it comes to me driving to North Dakota and setting up a big spread for snow geese, I'd probably be sitting there for a week and a half and wouldn't have one goose come to the spread, So there's that learning curve, and it's an intimidating thing. So, that's tough. And so as people that are experienced, it's our job to mentor, like you said, people, answer questions. Don't be afraid to put a question on a post and ask me a question about, how to do this or how to do that. Or if you want to shoot a bighorn sheep someday, I'm actually just starting a new application service and booking agency. I don't have my site up yet. It's going to be called the Mundt Agency, NW Mundt and Associates Adventure Agency is what it's going to be called. And so people will be able to contact me. I can help them get in for different tags throughout the West. So, just little things like that. So how do I kill a big mule deer someday? Well, you got to get into the units where the big ones live. Or if you want to kill a sheep, you're not going to be able to afford a $60,000 sheep hunt. I can't. So I got lucky a couple of years ago. I drew a tag in Idaho. went in and shot a really nice ram. So there's a lot of things that can be helped through questions. The intimidation factor is there, but ask questions and help mentor somebody. That's super important to me.
Nick, how many? And you don't have to tell me the exact amount, but how many DMs do you probably get? I can't imagine Waddell's, but I know that you're right there with them. How many do you get a week if you had to average it?
I get quite a few, and sadly enough, I don't answer all of them.
You can't keep up, right?
Because I try not to just focus 24 hours a day on my Instagram, because I can get caught up in it pretty heavy, and then I don't get stuff taken care of that I'm supposed to. It's pretty addictive. But I get a lot. I get a lot, and I get a lot of questions, on Facebook and stuff like that. But I don't get them answered. I don't get them all answered. I try to answer quite a few of them. You can't.
But the point is that you're a voice that has the ability to get it out there. So, keep asking your questions. Don't take it as a knock or an insult that you don't get an answer back, because that is a full-time job. And I was trying to let these people know, like, you will get inundated with them. Like, it's amazing how many will come through because of the access or the people's ability to get to you. And we all have it. I mean, if I wanted to send a private message to Lou Ferrigno right now, I could. I grew up watching The Incredible Hulk, and now I can just go, hey, Lou, had this bicep workout come up, was wondering what you think of my pipes. Is the vascularity there? Yeah. He's probably not going to answer me back, but I have the ability. So don't take it as a slight from guys like Nick, but just know that they're trying to get to him, right? And that they're putting out enough good information out there for you to ingest and get your start. Because one of the questions I get asked the most is, I want to do what you do. How do I work in the industry? And I never know how to answer that. I never know. I tell them, networking, being able to talk, being clean cut, being ethical, being educated, get your education, learn how to juggle, learn how to network. Yeah, you can blow a good duck call, but a lot of people can. Yeah, you can kill big mule deer, but can you go and be a good voice and do that? Like, it's up to you. How you want to get into this. There's a lot of different ways to get into it, but once you do get that opportunity of cutting a guy's hair and him seeing a picture and that turning into video being looked at, and then that turned into this with David Blanton, who's been at Realtree since the beginning in 1986, I believe. When you get the opportunity, do it. Think positive, stay optimistic that it can happen. But if you're not going to make your living in the hunting industry, which it's very few and far between that make their living in the hunting industry, doing it. But if you get a chance, take advantage of it.
And we get that question all the time. I want to do something in the hunting business. And so my advice is always, immerse yourself in the industry in some capacity, whether that's working at a sporting goods store, going to archery shoots, trying to get on some pro staffs, go to all the shows and meet people and meet outfitters, become a guide. To be a TV personality these days, it's tough just because it's so saturated. And, now with the internet, anybody can have their own TV show on the internet. You may not make any money off of it, but you can have your own program. I mean, it's at anybody's fingertips if you want to do the work to make the production. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is, and it's not just with this industry, it's with anything you do, over deliver, get your butt out of bed in the morning, do what you say you're going to do, be personable, be positive. There's a lot of things that can be said for that. And whether you're driving a dump truck for the city or running a jackhammer, or you're trying to do a hunting show, being courteous and positive and being somebody that over delivers is key to it all.
Well, so great. That was well said. Like, perfect. Like, exactly the business of the hunt is like exactly what you just said in a nutshell. Is if you practice those little things, do it. Think about how courteous a guy like Nick Mundt is before you send that message. First of all, if you're going to send messages like that, the chances of you getting into it are slim and none, in my opinion. You can't have that attitude. That you cannot go into it with a competitive, you're better than anybody, or jealousy or envy or anything like that. Stay optimistic and keep a clear head approach about it. That if you want to get into it, do exactly what Nick Mundt said. Be courteous. Over deliver, shake hands, understand networking, understand the negotiation of a contract or an agreement, and that there is a business part of this. But the more that you do those little things of being ethical, being responsible, being courteous, courteous, and understanding those little traits. Then you can come into this thing is so driven by those little things that you just said. It's amazing. So
yeah, and things don't happen overnight. I mean, people kind of saw, all of a sudden, we had, for me anyway, Waddell different, but during kind of the road trips days, the persona was kind of building, and then all of a sudden people just saw me, boom, Bone Collector started. And it's like, they thought that I just out of the blue, just boom, I'm on a TV show. Boy, he's lucky. And I mean, I worked my ass off for almost 15 years.
No, you not according to people. Not according to people on the internet. You didn't.
So,
do you remember my first question?
Your friend.
Do you remember my first question about, was it scripted? Friend. Was this supposed to happen? If you, I think the talk is awesome. I think what you've built is awesome. I know a lot of it had to do with being in the right place at the right time, but I will tell you this.
Absolutely.
I will tell you this, Nick Mundt, that happens a lot of times in this world on a daily basis. People are there. They just don't know it, or they don't know how to recognize it, or they don't have the ability to put themselves in the right spot once they're in that right position to open that door and to take the next step. And you did it, and you did it through humbleness. You did it with kindness. You've done it with sincerity. You I've always been very polite to everybody and always the first to say, hey, what's going on? And I think that all of that wrapped into this message that now you have the ability and the platform to deliver. I want more of it. The world of the hunter and the fisher and the conservationist and the archer and the rifleman and the muzzleloader and the slingshotter and the bobber fisherman and the fly fisherman, we all deserve to have people like you, or we should all be more humbled that we have people like you and the Waddells and the T-Bones to help guide hunters through this, to motivate them, to show them the right way to do things, to never forget about your roots, to always understand first and foremost that we're going to have fun, and the respect for the animal, and that there isn't a such thing as just, if we kill a 140, hey, we're as happy as when I got my 189 in Kansas. It's all hunting.
Absolutely, man. That's one of the things I love the most is, after the kill, getting it in, hanging it up, spending time with it, cutting it up, caping it out. I mean, for me, that's just, I love that part of it. And the time spent after, I love to get my hands bloody. It's just, to me, it's just the coolest part of it all. Once it's all done, you get that heart pounding action, but then when you're done, you get to spend all the time getting it ready, prepared it for the freezer. And, like I said before, it's just a humble deal for me. And down in the barn, my in-laws have a horse farm here in Minnesota, and on the barn down there, there's a sign above the door that says, basically it says, for every door that opens for you, there's somebody opening that door on the other side. And I just think that's a key saying, because if it weren't for, number one, Bill and David at Realtree, I wouldn't be here. And if it weren't for Michael giving me these opportunities, I wouldn't be here either. So, I just feel humble and blessed to get to be working with those guys. They've opened a lot of doors for me and supported me, and, without any type of jealousy or animosity. They don't want to hold me back. I mean, those guys have just been so key in the success of my career. And I just know for sure without those guys, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And a lot of the blessings that I've had in this business are because of those guys. So I just want everybody to know that, I try to be as humble as possible. There's nobody that I won't talk to at any kind of show or appearance or anything like that. And I really do feel honored and blessed to get to do this stuff, and luckiest job in the world.
It's very easy to see it, Nick. You do a great job of not being fake, and you've always been real, and it's easy to see, and it's evident that a lot of people see it because of what you guys have become to the industry. And I think that saying above the door on your mother-in-law's horse barn is so key, and what you do, it reflects in what you do. It reflects in what Michael does. Michael is he's the first to tell you, man, if it wasn't for this guy, I wouldn't be to where I'm at. If it wasn't for Bone Collector, Foul Life wouldn't be where it's at. If it wasn't for Waddell giving me that feeling that you can be yourself or be real on camera, we would have never started it. Now, Fred Zink is the one that really got me into filming and teaching me the way of filming ducks and geese. But at the same time, I was watching Waddell and what you guys were doing on road trips, and it was just very innovative, and it was very intriguing, and it was very inspirational. So those doors open, and it's how you keep them open. It's not kicking them down and saying the Foul Life is here and we're the best ever. It was never like that. We always wanted to have people be able to live through us vicariously, because we've been living through Phil Robertson and Michael Waddell and all these other guys vicariously through years. And I think that we need that. We think that we need it, and we want people to watch the Foul Life and get that. You don't have to be a duck hunter to enjoy it kind of attitude, because there is a lot of camaraderie in camp life, and there's a lot of giving back through it. And I think that through the heart of the hunter and the compassion that we have and the respect of the resource that we have as human beings and the way we were brought up, I want people to think about that before they hit that message. And by no means am I thinking Nick Mundt or Michael Waddell or Chad Belding or anybody is a victim. Send what you want, but just know that when you send stuff like that, it totally turns people off to wanting to help you. Let this be a motivational thing. Like, hey, anybody can get involved in the hunting and the great outdoors. It's there for us. We all have the right to go out and hunt. So let's do it right. Let's do it as brothers. When you see Nick and Mike, walk up and get, and if you don't want to get an autograph, shake their hands and just say thank you for being a good voice for this culture of the American hunter. And that's all there is to it. You guys are a good voice for what this culture is supposed to be.
Well, we feel like that's our job. So, it's kind of the easy part, really. I mean, we pride ourselves on that, and staying humble and just trying to, get as many people involved as possible. That's our whole motto,
That's
don't
Nick,
make excuses.
That's Nick Mundt.
Get after it.
Exactly. Don't make excuses. And that's Nick Mundt on Instagram at Nick's Big Game.
Oh, actually, it's at Nick Mundt now. It used to be at Nick's Big Game, but it's funny. I reached out to a guy named Nick Mundt, had that name, and I said, hey, I've got an Instagram account and I'm gaining a lot of followers, and what would it take to get your name, Nick Mundt? And he said, you can have it. It's yours right now. And then he clicked off it. I clicked on it, and he picked up cool. Nick Mundt 2368175 or something like that. But just super nice guy, is Nick Mundt, it's cool. So
it's at Nick Mundt's Big Game.
Just at Nick Mundt. Yep.
At Nick Mundt now on Insta. Okay. On Twitter as well.
Instagram and Twitter.
You can find Bone Collector on the Outdoor Channel. You can find all of their past seasons on My Outdoor TV, which there's specials going on weekly. Look for new ones coming out of the Mo TV world right now. Nick Mundt, if you only got one musician to sit around the campfire with you. Oh, that was an easy one. It'd be the Hag, huh?
Yeah.
All right. You come in when you want to, but I'm going to start.
Okay.
I've been throwing horseshoes over my left shoulder. You better come in, Nick, if you're a Hag fan, because this is my favorite Haggard song.
I've been most all my life searching for that four-leaf clover.
Yeah, you ran with
me.
Yeah. Chasing my rainbow. Don't you know I love you too?
I love you too. And that's the way love goes.
Oh, Nick Mundt, you can even sing, man. Merle Haggard. I'm talking like my dad passed away in 2006, August 9th, 2006. And every day in his truck when we'd hunt, we'd listen to the Poncho and Willie, or Poncho and Lefty, he can't sing, that album, dude. And My Lazy Day, and just might have gone fishing. I got to thinking it over the road to the river.
Love them all, man.
Dude, I could, man.
All day, every day.
I have a guitar in my studio signed by Merle Haggard. He signed it like the year before he passed away.
I have one too.
Oh, that's
what's
so
crazy
cool.
is my dad and I a couple of years ago, we went. Typically, I don't get to go to some of the Western shows because they're all at the same time as some of the turkey and deer shows that we do. And so I didn't have anything going over SCI weekend in Vegas, and Merle Haggard was going to be playing at the auction banquet. And so a friend of mine that works with SCI called him, said, "Hey, you got to get me a couple tickets to Merle. My dad and I have been big Merle fans, my whole life. And I just really want to take my dad to see Merle. It's a pretty intimate deal. There's only a couple hundred people in there. And about, I don't know, 3-4 days before the show, they announced that Merle was canceling his tour because he had pneumonia. Well, he still played the SCI. So my dad and I got to see him. Obviously he was old, and he had oxygen on the stage, and just still sounded great. Had his whole band, his son Ben played, his other son Noel opened up for him. And man, we just really enjoyed the show. We were right up next to the stage, 10 feet from him, and Toby Keith came out, sang a couple songs with him, and literally about 6 days after that he passed away. And so
oh man,
that was just probably one of the coolest things ever for my dad and I to get to see him. The last concert he ever played.
Good
and
for you,
I wish I'd have gotten to see him earlier when he was like really in his prime. But even then, not being able to breathe and having oxygen on, it was just something else, and something I'll never forget. And I got to share that with my dad too. So it was great.
Good for you guys. Well, Nick, I appreciate it. God bless Merle Haggard. God bless Bone Collector. Nick Mundt, thank you for being part of the podcast. We'll do it again, my man.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and man, just keep up the good work, brother. I appreciate everything, and hopefully this will go over well, and we can do it again sometime.
Oh, it's going to go over well, and I love your story. I appreciate the friendship. I'll be in touch. We'll go down another one, talk about the new house, the kids, the marriage, everything you're doing. That's the Nick Mundt story. That's the beginning part of it. That's just a real little part of it. If you need a haircut, I don't know if Nick will do that anymore, but he will definitely answer your questions on how to be a better big game hunter. Nick Mundt, you the man,
Not
Bone
until
Collector.
The virus is gone.
Yeah, not until this virus. It's going to happen. That's been another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Please support the partners and sponsors that support us. Thank you all so much for the growth. Truly humbling. And today's episode, again, was brought to you by our friends at Jack Daniels, Lynchburg, Tennessee. Enjoy it responsibly. Thank you all very much. Tom, hit that button. This is Leith Lofton. What you going to do when the money's all gone?
Money's all gone.